In the United States, we had elections on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2nd, November 2nd. We had elections, and I don't want to talk about the results of the elections. You know, you can find those out on your own. You can cheer or be sad or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I wanted to talk about something kind of in that same vein, right? So I want to talk about electoralism. And by electoralism or electioneering or whatever you want to call it, I'm just talking about the practice of going out, garnering votes, getting people to vote for you, getting people to like you. Like, how do you do that, right? Like, electoralism, think about it as like the study of how you get elected. All right, it's not particularly complicated. Well, it seems complicated, but it's not. I guess that's the point I want to make. It's not complicated at all. So, at its base level, forget about systems, forget about, other things. Just for a moment, let's go down to a base level. What is the purpose of politics? Politics is about passing policy, right? The whole game of politics, getting elected, running for office, the whole shtick is for the sole purpose of saying, hey, I have these ideas about my insert jurisdiction type here. I want to implement them, and the people who are presently in power are not implementing them or not implementing them well. So I want to throw my hat in the ring and say, hey, clearly it's difficult for you guys to do this. So instead, I am going to try my hand at doing this. And I'm doing it because I believe in XYZ policy, right? The end goal of politics, regardless of what system you're under, is to enact policy or to stop policy from being enacted, right? So this is kind of the concept. So in electoral systems, where electoralism is the most important, I would argue, getting elected on promises is one thing. But once you're in power, you have two options. Three. One is to pass the policy that you desire into law. And, if you're in the majority, that's easy. Two, if you're not the majority or, there's resistance, to fight to convince people that these policies are appropriate policies for your jurisdiction, right? So even if you can't win on the policies, fight for them. Or you could just not do any of those things and just be in power for power's sake. But I wouldn't do that because in theory, then if you do that, on the other end of all of this, you face the voters, right? You come up for re-election every so often, as it is. And you need to explain to the voters of this jurisdiction, whatever it is, or district or electoral area or whatever you want to call it, that, hey, you should re-elect me, right? I didn't get my promises done, but I'll get them done next time. Or if you elect me and all my friends, then we will get our promises done. We promise to continue to fight for this, right? So if you haven't done anything in the time that you've been in office, then the people who sent you there on your promises are going to think, hey, he or she or they broke their promises. You said you were going to do something and then you didn't do anything. You didn't even fight for the thing that you said you were going to do. Therefore, I, as a voter, have concluded that you are not worth voting for, and I will vote for someone else, right? Makes sense. Very simple. Now, if you fight for something, you still might lose, right? Because they say, hey, well, you fought for it, but you didn't change enough hearts and minds. And I, the voter, think that someone else can change more hearts and minds than you can, or fight harder, or fight better, or whatever. So you still might lose, but at least then you go to the people and you say, hey, look, I tried. Look, I fought really hard. These are the things I did. These are the speeches I gave. I tried really hard to get you the things that I promised to do, but hey, I wasn't in the majority. Or I had to negotiate it out for this other good thing, or whatever, right? I couldn't do my promises, but I did fight for them. I did try, and I have the potential, the capacity to get the things that I promised last time if you re-elect me this time. Okay, obvious, good thing, right? You can do it. And then there is the doing the thing, right? So, hey, I promised you I was going to do this. You elected me to office, and I did it. And now I'm promising you that I'm going to either maintain the thing that I promised to do, if it's that kind of thing, or I have these new ideas about what can improve your lives, and I'm going to go and do them. I was so successful last time. You should reelect me so I can do those things again. And this is really what electoralism comes down to. It's not difficult. Now, sure, you throw systems on top of it, you throw other unfairnesses, gerrymandering, corporate money, first past the post system. There are lots of hurdles. It's true. I'm not discounting that at all. But at the very base of this conversation, you need to deliver something for the people, or they will not vote for you. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule, right? You can say, hey, true, I didn't deliver for you, but the other guy or gal or they is so bad that if you elect me, at least it won't be them. And if they get elected, they will enact policies that are bad, that you do not like. So I will at least stop them from doing that because I will be there instead of them. Fair point. Okay. But that's not a very convincing argument, because you're not promising anything. Now, if you go in, and by the way, part of elections, there are people who are not partisans, who are not going to vote just based on a party line. They consider themselves independents, or they may subscribe to more than one party, or they may have very specific preferences, policy preferences, that they will just not show up to vote at all if those policy preferences are not addressed. And by the way, that is fair. Quick aside, if you're a politician, the voters cannot fail you. You can only fail them. If you don't get elected, it's because you suck. If you do get elected, it means you probably don't suck, or at least you suck slightly less than the other person. Okay? Again, not difficult. So, recap for all the politicians who are not watching this. If you don't get elected, the voters did not fail you. You failed them. Not difficult. Okay. Where was I? Yes. So, hello, voice crack. So, essentially, promising to stop someone else from doing something is an argument that you can win with. It's fair, okay? And especially if the other person is really, really bad, right? But that is not a workable electoral strategy. It is a much more workable electoral strategy to say, hey, people of this district or electoral area, not only am I going to stop such and such a person from doing their bad things, but I'm also going to do these things for you. Typically, by the way, the reason that other person proposes very bad thing is because either the system is not working for them and they propose something that they think is extreme enough to work, or there's just a large divide in the country or jurisdiction or what have you, and that particular issue is not popular for you, but it is popular for them. There's plenty of issues like this, right? But let me give you an example of kind of what I'm talking about. If the other candidate says, hey, I am going to murder all refugees who come to this country before they get here because we need to make sure that only people who are here can get the benefits of being here. Okay, that sounds like a pretty extreme policy, and it is, obviously. Okay. Don't do this, by the way. So your immediate reaction as a politician might be, hey, we're not going to murder refugees when they come here. Or if you elect me, refugees will not get murdered when they come here. Okay, so stop here. Essentially, what's happened now is that the politician that I am representing is saying, I am just not going to do what they say that they are going to do. I have not promised anything. However, if I say instead, not only will voting for me lead to refugees not being murdered, but also we're going to send more bureaucrats to our border to process refugees, to make sure that if refugees do come here, they go through all the processes and they're double checked and verified, and they have the capacity and wherewithal and means to become citizens of this jurisdiction. Okay. Now, personally, I don't agree with that particular opinion. I would rather just everyone be let in, but that is a promise, right? This thing is bad. It's not. If you elect me, it won't happen, and I'm also going to do this to make the thing better. Do you see the difference? Okay. So, as we move through elections, and especially in the United States, as we preview elections, these sets of elections here are going to essentially be previews of what are called the midterms, the biennial. Yes, the biennial elections, which occur between the election of the chief executive, the president. Typically, what happens, for those of you who do not know, is the party who has the presidency typically loses one or two bodies of the legislature. In the US, it's just typically the way it works, unless, they do something really good. And, sometimes it does. But the point of this segment, really, is to remind you all out there that it is not difficult for the party who has just lost lots of seats, or may potentially lose lots of seats, to retain them. You simply have to do something for the people who voted you in. Because if you don't, they either are going to vote the other way, or, which is much more likely in as divided a country as we have here in the United States, they just won't show up. And where in a country where elections are typically close in a lot of places, some small group of people not showing up is actually a pretty significant change. So we need to, and by the way, this is, just true general of socialists. We need to be continuing to promise things and to fight for things really hard. Look, especially in the United States, it is very rare or impossible that socialists like myself will ever have the majority in legislative bodies around the country, whether it's the national level or local level. Okay, we get it. But in order for us to continue to get elected, to increase the chances that we get a majority, not only do we have to promise to do good things, which we should continue to do, but we also have to make sure that no matter what we promise, we don't allow that thing to be destroyed. Or if we do, it's involuntary and we fight like hell. Because if you don't fight, and, the opposite of what you want gets passed, then it's not really worth having you there. Being a socialist, ascribing to a particular ideology, is not reason enough for you to retain a seat in a legislature or any office for that matter. It's about what you do. Labels are all nice and all, and I use them, and most of us use them, especially on the left. We like to out-label each other. It's just a thing that we do. But that label is bupkis if it's not backed by anything. So, electoralism, this practice that I'm talking about, it's not difficult. Do right by the people, and they'll do right by you. It's not hard. Okay? If you're a politician and you're listening to this, which you're probably not, just do things people want. Read a fucking poll. It's not hard. People poll the American people all the time. Oh, wait, not just America, of course. But, if you're a politician and you want to know how to get reelected, read a poll. It's not hard. You'll figure it out. I believe in you. I mean, I don't, but you got this. You'll be fine.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, throw a like on it, share with your friends, and subscribe for more of our content. You can also find all of our videos and clips on youtube.com. Just search Let Them Eat Bread and you'll find all of our content. Alright guys, see you next time. Bye for now.